Calling all authors, the Your Book, Your Voice podcast with host Robert A. Lane features everything you need to know about narrating your audiobook, but it doesn't stop there. We have special guests lined up from all aspects of the book publishing industry, and we also dive deep into what it takes to be mentally prepared for success as an author and in life. So please welcome your host, Robert A. Lane.
Hey, my friends, welcome to the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. I'm your host, Robert A. Lane. I have a business called Robert Lane Coaching, which is at robertlanecoaching.com. Maybe this is your first time tuning in. I am an audiobook coach and producer, and I specialize in helping nonfiction authors turn that great published book into an audiobook that they, as the author, narrate themselves. I do have an audiobook coaching program, which is called Your Book, Your Voice, which is a one-on-one coaching program that walks you through the process of setting up your own recording space, teaching you the fine art of voiceover and narration and how to be compelling and engaging, and then getting you published on, we definitely get you published on Audible, Amazon, and Apple, because those are the three distribution platforms you have to be on. Or if you have other distribution platforms that you want to be on, we can help you with that as well. Today, we have a great show, very special guest that I'm going to bring on in just a second here, who is a podcast guru. We're going to talk about that in more detail. Before I bring Angel Tuccy on, I do want to again share with you that I have a free download, by the way. If you would like to grab this, I give this to anybody who tunes into the podcast, and you can also grab it on my website. It is the Audiobook Narration Reference Guide, and you can download this free reference guide. Again, it's on my website, and it will give you some tools and techniques that'll help you do a great audiobook narration. And the link, by the way, is bit.ly. It's a bit.ly link, bit.ly/narration reference guide. So go ahead and grab yourself a copy. And with that, I am just really excited to bring on our very special guest. So I just want to welcome Angel Tuccy. Now, Angel is a media specialist. She is also an award-winning speaker, which is great because I'm getting into the speaking world as well. So I may have some questions for you to talk about that. But you are a 15-time best-selling author, which is incredible. What a great accomplishment. You're a radio host. You are also a TV producer. You were awarded Most Influential Woman of the Year. We got to talk about that for sure, because I want to get more details about that. You have a business called Need a Guest, needaguest.com, which, again, I love the term that people refer to you as, which is media matchmaker. And that is an incredibly important thing, especially in the podcast world. So we're really going to dive into that. But I just want to welcome you to the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. Thank you so much for joining.
Well, Robert, thank you. I'm so excited to be here. I've been looking forward to this. Loved our conversation last week. I think I loved, when you talk about all the accolades of best-selling author and all the awards. The one thing I haven't done, though, is I don't have an audiobook. So I'm super excited to chat with you tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as you know, my go-to phrase is all nonfiction authors need to narrate their own audiobook. That's my firm belief, which is why I do what I do.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm the cobbler's shoes kind of in that space. I think anything that you can do to put your message out and use all the platforms. And the beautiful thing about audio is people have more time in their day to listen than they have to do anything else. And so audiobooks are, super smart, and love connecting with you, and your program rocks. So, when you talked about it and you described what you do for your clients, I just think I think it's kind of a no-brainer. If you want to turn your book into an audiobook, Robert's your guy.
Thank you. Thank you for the accolades. I appreciate it. Okay, so Most Influential Woman of the Year. Tell me about that. What was that about?
I know, isn't that crazy? I'm like, and yet I
Awesome.
still do my own dishes, right? I was so fortunate. I came from Denver, Colorado. That's where I went to high school.
Hmm.
Kind of grew up, got married, raised my kids, started my business, and I was just super involved in my local chamber, my local community. I was chairman of the board for one of my chambers of commerce. But when I first started in broadcasting, I I started really empowering. I got into broadcasting because I wanted to empower small businesses and give them
Hmm.
a voice. And because they're the backbone of the American economy, right? They're out there hustling. They're making such a big impact for their family, their community. And so I got into broadcasting to give small business owners a platform.
Hmm.
And that ended up opening up a door. The South Metro Denver Chamber of Commerce Women in Leadership, sponsored by Safeway, named me the most influential woman of the year, and it was a total surprise. It wasn't like I was nominated and you knew it. Like
Uh-huh.
it was yeah, they just named me the most
It's like,
influential woman of the
surprise.
year. Yes.
That's great. That's great. But that shows that you were doing something that was, really important for the community. And again, entrepreneurship, as if it was so easy, everybody would do it, but it's not. It's a tough business. But if as long as you're focused and you are true to your values and beliefs, and you have resilience, you can do it. You can do it.
It'll eat your lunch for sure if you're
Yeah.
not if you don't have the backbone, I guess,
Yeah.
to get through it. But yet at the same time, I mean, I worked for the PGA before. I've had jobs, where you have to clock in the morning and you have to be there. You get a lunch break at a certain amount of time. You have to ask for the day off to go to the dentist or to go to your kid's field trip.
Yeah.
And so, you kind of just trade one for the other. I think the weirdest part was when we moved from Denver to Orlando 3 years ago, and we were buying a house. And because I was self-employed, because I was a business owner, an entrepreneur, of course, we get to write off a lot of our expenses on our taxes, and they would have been happier if I was a W-2 employee to give me a mortgage. But because I was self-employed, I'm like, but I get to control my income. I'm not going to fire me tomorrow. So
Right.
it just kind of feels like a backwards system. But,
Yeah.
um, I love being an entrepreneur. My husband's an entrepreneur. My parents were not. I
Mm.
didn't grow up around that, but somewhere along the line, I got a taste of it, and I think this is my fourth business that I've started.
That's pretty awesome. It is a challenge, but again, if you're focused and you put your heart and soul into it, and you're disciplined, you got to have discipline, and you are resilient, because there are some pretty crazy ups and downs, when you're running your own business, but it can be done. We are broadcasting live, by the way. If any of you, if you are an author, or even an entrepreneur, and you are thinking about getting into the podcast world, Angel is the person to help you with that. So give us a call. You can call us. Uh, let's see. I was checking to see. Well, we don't have the number up there on the screen, but I will give you the phone number, and that is 1-866-451-1451. There we go. Yeah, you can stick it under there on my side. That's fine. That's 866 451-1451. If you'd like to call in to the show, ask questions about podcasting, about being an author, about book publishing, about audiobooks, we're here to answer your questions. And you can also join us in the comments. If you have questions and you just want to type in the comments, you can do that as well. So, please feel free to join us. Now, there's one thing that I think is really important when I was reading your biography, and that is that you are referred to as the number one authority uh,
Mm.
to getting clients hooked up, not just on podcasts, but on the right podcasts. That is incredibly important, and that takes a special talent.
Well, it takes a lot of work for sure, right? We've been building out relationships with folks in media. My background was in broadcasting. I was a radio talk show host in Denver for 10 years. And when I left broadcasting, I started speaking to entrepreneurs and traveling as a conference speaker, teaching entrepreneurs, authors how to get booked on the radio, how to do their own PR, how to get media exposure for your business, your book, or your brand. And I was totally in love with that. And I built up a great database of connections, of podcast hosts, of event planners who are looking for speakers. And so that's really how I ended up becoming the media matchmaker, was just because of the connections of the people I had. And during the pandemic, when I stopped traveling as a speaker, I started this Facebook group and I called it Need a Guest, because people were always coming to me saying, Angel, I need a guest. So Robert would say, hey, I'm hosting this show. I need somebody. Angel, who do you know? I need a guest. And so I was just always in that space of connecting people together. And it just kind of got bigger than me. And I decided to start and throw everything into a Facebook group so that people could connect to each other without me being the middleman.
Mm-hmm.
And it ended up just really attracting really quality people into the group, quality hosts, quality speakers, people who have a great message, great authors who have a great message and they're looking for a platform. And I've just been really fortunate that we've been able to build this great network, this community of podcast hosts and stage planners and guests who are looking for guests. And so if you want to find guests or you want to get booked, we now have this really great community that we run on Facebook. And when I started it, if it would have hit 1,000 people, Robert, I would have been thrilled. I'm like, that's plenty. Like, you don't need more than that. 100 is all you really need. Well, we crossed over 10,000 members after 2 years, and we just crossed over 37,000 members in that community.
Wow.
And so we just have this really just this thriving group of people who want to serve each other and help and lift each other up and get give your message a voice, or your voice a place that you can share that message on. And so it does matter, right, that you're connecting with really quality people. But I think most people in this space are really good people.
Yeah, and I can attest to that because I am a member of the Facebook group, Need a Guest. And I don't think I told you this, Angel, but the coach that I'm working with right now, that we work together for the speaking engagement aspect of it, found him on Need a Guest. I was a guest on a little, well, I wouldn't say it would be a podcast, but a live stream that he does, and we just clicked. And we started talking, and he told me about what he does, as a coach. And I'm like, that's an avenue that I'm looking to get in. And we hooked up. So because of Need a Guest, I'm working with a great coach. So
I
thank you.
love that. Oh my gosh, thank you, right? I mean, that's what it's for. And people reach out to me all the time. When I meet somebody new and I tell them I run the Need a Guest group, they're like, I'm in the group. I know the group. We just actually we were hiring for an admin, and two of the people, actually 4 of the 8 people that we interviewed, they use the group. Like, they're in the group and have been using the group already. So I love that it's a resource. We want it to be one of the most valuable, perfect places for you to come and find guests and get booked. And it has really grown and thrived, and it's turned into that. It's a beast to run, but we're super excited when we hear stories like that. So thanks for sharing that with me.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You're listening to the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. We do have to take a quick break. When we come back, though, we're going to really dive into the podcast world, the history of it, the development of it, how to sift through the noise, how to protect yourself from the podcast leeches that may be out there. We're going to cover all of that. And again, Angel Tuccy is the person to answer any questions that you may have about being a guest on a podcast, or maybe even starting your own. So we're going to get into that in just a little bit. Again, this is the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. I'm your host, Robert A. Lane. We are streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network, and we'll be right back.
What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick, Wednesdays 7 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave Media Network and TuneIn Radio. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness: Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
And welcome back to the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. I'm your host, Robert A. Lane, with Robert Lane Coaching. If you're interested, if you're an author and you're interested in turning your book into an audiobook, by all means, please reach out to me. You can find me at robertlanecoaching.com. But we have our very special guest, Angel Tuccy, who is the media matchmaker. And she is a podcasting expert. She has a business called Need a Guest. We talked about the Facebook group, which is really a great, great group, and her website, needaguest.com, of course. And you know what, Angel, it's fun to talk to another radio professional.
It is a lot of fun, right? I've been out of the game, right, for I think 7 years now, which is kind of crazy. So this is a lot of fun for me, and it's a lot of fun to be on this side of it. Where I get to just be the guest. Like this is easy.
Yeah, it's fun, and I love that we get to do this live, that it's not a pre-recorded thing, so love being on, you got to be on your toes, but that's good.
We hosted, I did a 2-hour daily talk show. By the time I left broadcasting, I was doing 2 back-to-back 2-hour shows every day, and they were both live. And so when people say to me, I'm doing a live show, I'm like, great. Right, let's go. That's so much easier. I think there's, on one hand, there's more pressure because it is live, but on the other hand, I think there's also a little bit more grace, right? Because we're just having a live conversation and it's in the moment and it's pretty raw and pretty real. And so I like it.
Yep. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. So I do want to talk a little bit about the history of podcasts. I remember when I was in Los Angeles, I was working at 20th Century Fox on the studio lot. So I listened to the radio a lot and the stations out there. And I remember one DJ mentioning that he's starting a podcast. Now, back in the day, didn't really know much about this. Like, what is a podcast? Where do you even hear this? It just didn't compute. Now, present day, here we are, and there are so many podcasters out there now. It's crazy. So what was your take about the development and the history of podcasting?
It's interesting, Robert. I actually started a podcast in, I think it was 2008. And kind of, so new. Twitter was just starting, right? I mean, all of the, social media, the whole thing, right? Kind of all brand new. But I knew somebody who hosted or had a studio in his basement. a full production studio. So I would go once a week and he would produce the broadcast. And that's actually how I got into radio, was because I started hosting a once a week podcast. Somebody from our local radio station discovered it and invited, and I had a co-host, and he invited us to start our own radio show. And we started doing a daily talk show. But you're right, like anybody, it was up and coming technology. But just imagine, like right now, how just what an open field this is for us to create our own platform. I mean, I'm in my house, you're in your studio, and we didn't have to come together. Like there's some professional technology that's putting it all together, but really it's quite simple compared to having the full production where I had to go into a studio for. So it is come a long way, and I think I think even still we're on the tip of the iceberg, because I think a lot of people are still dabbling with it, trying to figure it out, starting a podcast. Most podcasters don't get past the first, is it 5 or 7 episodes or 12 episodes, and they quit because it's work. Hello, right? Like it does take some effort. It is more serious than, hey, let's just have a wing it conversation. With no, when I ask people, like, who do you talk to, or who's your audience, or we just talk about whatever, we just whatever. I'm like, okay, well, your audience, you're not going to gain any traction from your audience if they can't count on and have at least some semblance of what your show is about and who it's for. And so if you really, you do, I mean, you have to have some professionalism and some guidelines and some structure to it if you want to see it succeed. So every day, brand new podcasters are starting, new podcasts are getting discovered. And, as long as you're putting out good content consistently, and you've got a good message, right? And you're talking to people and it matters to you. It just matters to you that you make a difference and you're making an impact. I think you can really go far. And I just don't even think that we've even tipped the scales of what podcast impact can do for people. I think because it's low barrier to entry, people don't take it seriously. I think there's so much potential, and the more I get into podcasting, the more I love it.
Yeah, and you brought up a good point, which got me to thinking. Narrowcasting is not a bad thing. If you have a specific topic that you talk about, as you say, when people are looking for that topic, they find you. When they are looking for some, that's the beauty of it, that you're able to be narrowcasted into, I talk about publishing and audiobooks, and that's my thing. That's what I talk about. But you know what? Authors, there's a lot of authors out there, that I hope that I can work with and help them create audiobooks. Same thing with you being a podcast expert. You are the expert in helping people sift through the noise and finding what's really right for them, and finding those good narrowcast podcasts, because that's what they need. So, Angel, how do you go about the process of sifting through all the noise? I mean, that must be a big task.
To say the least. So the beautiful thing, right, is we've got this great Facebook group where podcasters can come and talk about their show and the types of guests that they're looking for. And so, I mean, if you can focus in on what's important to you, like I know who my audience is, I know the topics that they're interested in, this is my space. You called it narrowcasting. I never heard that before, but I think that's just a brilliant phrase, and it's so smart. But I think people are afraid to do that, because if I narrow it down, I'm going to leave out all of this other, audience out there, and there's all the other potential. But truly, the clearer and more focus you have, the easier it is to get your message out, the easier it is to find the platforms and the shows and the people you want to partner with and talk with. It actually, the noise kind of goes away on its own, because you are so focused in on, this is what I'm looking for. And so if I'm going to stay in, for example, if we're talking about authors, right? If we're only going to talk with authors and talk about books and talk about publishing and talk about marketing books, like all the different spokes that come around that, then when I scroll through and I see one that's talking about health and wellness, or this one's sports and this one's, families, and like I can just skip right through all of that. It doesn't,
Right.
I can kind of keep my blinders on. And so you've got to know, like, what your topic is, what your keywords are, know who your audience is, know what your message is. And it's way easier to yeah, I think eliminate the noise that way. And of course, with keywords and searches, like you
Yeah.
can pull up your favorite keywords and the phrases that are important to you, and that's what'll rise up. That's what'll rise up to the top. And so, as I take my clients through it, I tell them to get booked on 2 podcasts a week, and we have a database. We invite podcasters to join our database, and it's keyword searchable, and it's direct. It's category searchable. Like, we have all these different ways we can search through it. But if you're just focused, like, you do you. Go where you belong, go where you're a good fit. You don't need to convince people, right? If you're into, I don't know, cryptocurrency, right? You want to go
Sure.
into a topic, right? That's what they want to talk about. You
Yeah.
don't want to ever feel like you're trying to convince somebody you should have this topic on your show. And there's so many podcasters that whatever it is you love to talk about, I promise you there's a podcast for it. And
Yeah.
if whatever your podcast is about, I promise you that there are guests for it.
Right. I agree with you 100% on that. And it's not a bad thing. I know, like, the first reaction is, for example, I'm a self-help person, or I'm a weight loss coach, and that's very wide range, and people may feel like, oh, I'm missing out, or there people aren't, there's a whole audience out there. But when you are focused, like you say, you're drawing in the right people that you want listening to your show, and those are the right people that you are speaking to, and that is where it makes a perfect marriage.
It
So it makes
does.
sense. So you,
Yeah.
I don't need a million people to follow me. I need maybe, give me 1,000 people, but they are there for a very specific reason, and we really gel. And if you have a product or service, if you are a coach or an entrepreneur or an educator or a teacher, and those 1,000 people, maybe you get 20 or 30 of them signing up for your program. Great.
Right? Yeah,
What a
because
great business.
they're interested. I remember, when I was in broadcasting, we would have, sponsors for the
Mm,
shows, right? And they want to sponsor shows that they know the people there are going to want to buy their product. So
yeah.
they're looking for a fit, they're looking for a match. Well, same for a podcast host, right? You've got a product, a program, a service, something that you sell on, like, on the back end. So you want to make sure the people that are listening to your show could possibly be interested, right, in what it is that
Absolutely.
you're selling. Do you have to buy it? No, but it just makes it a better fit for matching up the topics and just bringing it all together. So don't be afraid to narrowcast. I will adopt your word, and stay in that space. I used to talk to people who were talking about being even in public speaking, right? As you're talking about speaking, Robert. I've seen coaches who have said you need to have, 10 or different things that you talk about, but you really don't. If you just have your one core message
Hmm.
that is the fundamental core foundation, like that, you'll get booked on more stages more quickly because people know this is what you get when you bring on Robert. Like,
Right.
he's not going to be making it up. He's not going to be pulling something out at the last minute. Like, this is what you get when you book
Yeah.
Robert, and it's going to be consistent. And so, yeah, I think if you just trust yourself, don't feel like you have to be everything to everybody. just
Yeah.
just pick your one topic and stay in that space.
Best advice ever. Really, that really is great advice. So if anybody's listening about creating a podcast, this is advice that you need to take home with you. One thing that I want to touch on, because we'll be coming to a break shortly, but there are companies out there, podcasters out there, who prey on people who want to be guests on podcasts. They want to get their word out. How do you protect yourself from these people or companies? And I've seen it. I've seen the old bait and switch. We promise you this, and then you end up not getting what's being promised. And some people pay hundreds, if not thousands, of dollars to be a guest on a series of podcasts that just doesn't go anywhere. How do you protect yourself from these people?
That's a really great question, Robert, because they're just getting sneakier and sneakier,
Yeah.
right? And so number one, right? Big print give, little print take away, right? So read, ask lots of questions. If you're not sure, I think this is just where it's consumer beware, and you just have to be really savvy, about what you're investing in, who you're investing with, and if you have questions, ask them. Never feel pressured that you have to make a decision right now or this deal is going to go away. I'm like, if it's going to go away, then goodbye, right? Like I'm going to be okay. I'll sleep okay tonight. And yeah, they just, unfortunately, the tricksters out there just get trickier. And so whether it's podcasting or anything, right? We just
Yeah.
have to be really savvy consumers. And remember that if you're paying somebody for something, you're a consumer. So get things in writing. If it doesn't make sense to you, get them to clarify, like just ask more questions until you feel really comfortable, and never feel pressured to make a buying decision. Just don't feel pressured to make a buying decision, and, look
Yeah.
things up, right? If they've got something legit, a platform, a podcast, and they're giving you status and numbers, the good news is everything is available online. Go
Yeah.
look it up, right? Like you can find people. If you want to go and look up the Need a Guest group, like I could tell you it's got millions and millions of followers, or you're going to go and look it up and see it's got 37,000, right? Like
Right.
it's all online. Like you can't make this stuff up. So
Right.
I think just beware, but also don't be so cynical, right? Like we
Right.
can't always live our life afraid, because we might get taken advantage of, right? Or somebody else might not be on the up and up. Like even if you've had your heart broken, fall in love again, right? Like
Yeah.
you're gonna be okay.
That's awesome advice. Thank you, Angel. You're listening to the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. We're going to take another quick break. Again, if you have any questions about the podcast world or about audiobooks or book publishing or just being an author, because as an author, you are a brand. This is your brand. Your product is your ebook, paperback, and hardcover and audiobook. So you want to have the best product out there that represents your brand. So if you have any questions, by all means, please join us here in the comments or give us a call. I'll give you the number after we take our break. This is the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. We are streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network. We'll be right back.
Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality, but it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating? Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like it was almost instant, like I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. Yeah, it feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic on the BBM Global Network, Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of The Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com. plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on The Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
And welcome back. This is the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. I'm your host, Robert A. Lane with Robert Lane Coaching. As an audiobook coach and producer, I help nonfiction authors narrate their own audiobook and get them published on Audible, Amazon, Apple, and any other platforms that they would like to be distributed on. Our special guest today is Angel Tuccy, who is the media matchmaker. She is the podcast expert. And I'm just really glad that you're here, Angel, and the information and the advice that you've been giving so far has just been really awesome. So I hope everybody is taking it to heart, because it's all great stuff.
Well, it's a lot of fun to talk about, for sure. Thanks for having me, Robert.
So now let's dive into Need a Guest. It's a, you have this Facebook group, which has been a great way of connecting, as you say, authors and entrepreneurs and people who are looking to be guests and people who maybe are podcasters that are looking for guests, and it's a great way to get connected. So was there one thing, was there anything specific that was like, all right, I'm creating Need a Guest? I mean, we talked a little bit about it, but was there anything that was like the final thing that was like, okay, this is it?
So I'll tell you how it really came, right? How, like, the backstory of why I really created it. So I was on a virtual summit, which, so it was a live event where it was kind of like a panel of people in PR. So my background was in media and PR and teaching people how to do their own PR. And so there were 4 panelists, all in PR, on this virtual summit. And the host asked a question, like, people always want to know, where can we connect with journalists? Where can we connect with people in the media? Like, what's a great resource? And one of the other panelists started answering the question and giving away a pretty common resource that anybody in PR and journalism was aware of. And it was one I even used as a talk show host. But I remember hearing her, like, describe this other platform, and it just, like, had this little red flag, right, went up in my mind. Like, if you've got 5 minutes on a stage talking about your expertise, why would you send them to somebody else as a resource? Right? This is your moment, right, to kind of get them in your castle. And so I'm like, well, wait, Angel, you don't have a resource. Well, shoot. So, tricky little Angel, right? I'm on screen, on camera. If you stick your tongue behind your front 2 teeth, you can hold a smile without, like, messing up your jaw muscles. And so I'm smiling. And I pull up another screen, right? Because, I'm at home and I'm in my jammies, my daytime jammies back then, right? We had our nighttime jammies and our daytime jammies.
Yep.
And I pull up a screen. I buy the URL, Need a Guest. Like, what am I going to call this? Everybody says, Angel, I need a guest. Oh, here's where you go. Needagest.com. Started up, pulled up Facebook, opened up a Facebook group, pointed the URL. And by the time they got to me, they asked me other questions. And Angel, where do you say, right? Where's the best place to connect with journalists and, and PR connections, media connections? Well, because I knew I already had a network of people in this space, I knew I could plug them into the group and just invite them to be in the group.
Yeah.
So I said to them, right, they don't call me the media matchmaker for nothing, right? So I have this great group, Facebook group, where you can go and connect directly with journalists and PR, right? All these people. And you can go to needagest.com and that'll plug you into our Facebook group. And so it was just really, it was on the fly in a moment, me thinking that person shouldn't do that. But wait, Angel, what are you going to do that's different? Shoot, I better have a better answer. And so it was me just wanting to have a better answer than everybody else. And I just went and just personally invited all the contacts I had to join the group. And it just grew from there.
That's awesome. That is a true testament of thinking on your feet. Love it. That is a great story. So now you have Need a Guest, you have needaguest.com, and here we are present day. Can you go over, maybe just give us an overview of, let's say I'm a client or I want to be a potential client and I'm looking to, uh, you know, get on podcasts and promote my business and get people in my coaching program or, sell my service or product. So what is the process? Do you have a vetting process before you bring somebody on? How does it work?
Well, first of all, I want to tell you that podcasting for authors is perfect platform for
Okay.
promoting your books. It's really great for entrepreneurs, authors, and coaches. Just because you're getting to talk about the thing you're most passionate about, you get to share it with an audience that's looking for that topic. And because in most of the time, like audio, right? It's the you can connect most deeply with your audience via audio because they are kind of imagining what they're hearing and filling in the blanks and creating these word pictures. So if you want to connect the most deeply, right, with your target audience, sharing your message, your core message to as many audiences as possible, podcasting is the easiest and fastest way. We teach our clients to get in front of 2 podcasts a week. That's 50 audiences in 6 months. Like that, there's nothing else out there that can give you where you don't have to travel. Most of them are free. You can do them from the comfort of your own home in 20 to 60 minutes. Like there's nothing else out there. If you're looking for visibility, you're looking to get in front of your core audience to get your message out to make an impact. It sticks around. There's longevity. Like I could go, like there's 100 really good reasons to get booked on podcasts. So inside of the Facebook group, it's free, right? We just create this free community where you can network directly with guests and hosts. Find somebody who's got a great topic and it's a match and you just can connect directly with them. The thing that we do for our clients is we invite the hosts from the podcast or from the Facebook group to fill out an application. And in that application, we get a lot of information about their shows, how many episodes, downloads, topics, types of guests, like all sorts of information. We're pretty intrusive, but this helps our clients to find shows that are a really good fit for them. And so in that process of them filling out that application, we just get a lot of really great information. And then a lot of times I'll meet the host myself. I'll be a guest on that host show myself. Like I'll test them and take them for a test run. Doesn't
Yeah.
always work because it's not always the right fit, but I'll meet them and I can personally endorse them. So if somebody says to me, Angel, what do you think about Robert and his show? I'm like, love him, like perfect, go for it, green light, thumbs up, right? And so it's a warm outreach, there's a connection, there's somebody so it's way different than if you just went and bought an AI list, right? Give me a list of podcasts about authors. Okay, but are they looking for guests? All right, are they kind of show, like if you go to reach out, I had somebody yesterday, he says, Angel, I get at least 100 requests a week to be a guest on my show. He says that they turn down most of them because he says they're crap. But he says if they come from Need a Guest, if they're my clients, if they come from us, he's like, I move them right to the front of the line. There are only 3 resources that I take guests from, and it's because everyone's just such a great fit. And so it just works because it's people trying to help people.
Yeah, and that's really important. And this is something that, like what you do, what coaches do, whether you're a book coach or any type of coach, uh, you know, this is why you hire a coach, because they're the expert and they can help you achieve the goals that you're seeking to achieve. So, if you want to be a guest on podcasts that are legit, that are a right fit, then you hire Angel. You go to needaguest.com because that's where the expertise lies, where, again, like we talked about earlier, sifting through the noise and getting focused. I'll use that word, narrowcasting yourself into the right fit. And that makes all the difference in the world. And
Yeah.
I'm really glad you brought that up about podcasters, because again, some of the ones that are popular, God, you can just imagine the amount of people who are hitting them up, saying, "I want to be on your show. I want to be on your show." How do they sift through all that? And it's great that now they have a resource with needed guests because they trust you as the expert to make sure that the guests that you are referring to them are top notch. And that is a great service.
Yeah, there's a lot of accountability, right? If somebody says to
Yeah.
me, this person, was rude or whatever, like I can pick up the phone. I call on my text buddies, right? I can pick up the phone. Or if my client, right, was rude, right? I promise you, I'm going to go to bat for both of you and make
Yeah.
sure it's a good fit. It doesn't happen. And it's usually a miscommunication is like somewhere along the line. So it was just a miscommunication, but I'm also able to be that bridge to open up that communication again and get everybody on the same page.
Right. And that is, again, that's crucial. And that's, why, I mean, I'm an advocate of, like, when I wrote my book, I hired a book coach because I wanted somebody who was better at it than I am to teach
Yeah.
me and show me, how to do this the best that I can possibly do it. And then you find the team of people to help you with any author who's publishing a book. If you need a proofreader or a formatter or a editor or cover designer, like all these pieces that help you create the best product possible, you do it. Because again, I'm a firm believer of, you don't cut corners. Did you cut corners with your ebook and your paperback and your hardcover? I doubt it. If you
Right.
did it right,
Right.
are you going to cut corners when seeking out podcasts and just go with anybody? No, you need to vet it out. So it's worth the investment in your author brand and your business to hire the best of the best. You have a podcast expert, hire them. If
Yeah.
you need audiobook coach, hire that person. If you have a book coach, hire that person. If you're doing weight loss, hire a great weight loss coach or whatever it is. Because again, you want to work with the experts and you don't want to cut corners. Very
No,
important.
absolutely. Right. And you think about, there's costs involved, but what's it costing you not to have that? Right.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
so if you're not attracting clients, you don't have your message out, you don't have a platform, if you don't have these things every single day that you don't, think about the lifetime value of those clients and what that's costing you in your business. And so, the nice thing is about podcasting and publishing, right? These are all business entities, right? That you can create. It's marketing expenses. There's revenue. I mean, people used to tell me, and I used to believe it, that there's no money in books. And I just realized it's because they are not selling books, right? They didn't have a platform to go and sell the books. But imagine you've got your book, you've got your audiobook, which people who listen to audiobooks probably also listen to podcasts, right? And people who
Absolutely.
listen to podcasts probably also listen to audiobooks. If you were a guest on a podcast every week promoting and talking about your book would sell, right? I mean, this is not a tough equation to figure out. The challenge is we're just not, right? We're talking to the same people on my social media post over and over again. Buy my book, buy my book. Will somebody
Yeah.
buy my book? Like, go out and get in front of a new audience and do it from the comfort
Absolutely.
of your own home. I promise you, it's really easy to sell your audiobook from a
Yeah.
podcast interview. It's a no-brainer.
Absolutely. You're listening to the Your Book, Your Voice podcast, by the way. We are going to take a quick break, one more break, and then we will be back. One thing I did want to touch on is how you can use that book and podcasts to not only sell your book, but also sell your products. And then definitely want to touch on ways to get in touch with you as well. So we'll do that when we come back. We are streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network. Don't go away.
Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them. Rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies. Find settings that allow them to be the most productive and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBN Global Network and TuneIn Radio. What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense Radio Show with host Dr. Broderick, Wednesdays 7 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave Media Network and TuneIn Radio. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation.
Welcome back. This is the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. I am your host, Robert A. Lane with Robert Lane Coaching. Our very special guest this podcast has been and still is, as we have a few more minutes left in the show, Angel Tuccy, who is a media specialist. And her specialty, of course, is podcasting. And podcasting is such a great way for you as an author, because you are an author. Any author who's published a book, I don't consider you a hobbyist, you're a professional. And guess what? Welcome to entrepreneurship, because you are an author. Whether you wrote your book, whether you're just a writer, or maybe you wrote your book and you have a day job and you did it during nights and weekends, but you published that book. Doesn't matter. You are a professional. So embrace your author brand. Embrace it. Love it. So now you need to get the word out, and podcasting is the way to go. So Angel's been giving us some great advice on how to get the word out. Now, when you mentioned before we took a break about people who, publish a book and they're like, how am I going to make money on this book? Podcasting, again, is a great way to get the word out. And having a book is just a great marketing tool, especially if you have a product or service. So podcasting is another great way to not only sell your book, but also to let people know and get them aware of what you provide with your products.
It is. It opens up so many doors. And until you've published a book, you don't even realize the level of credibility that being an author provides. Because even if you have the podcast, even if you have the course, the YouTube, even if you have all of those things, if you are the published author on that topic, imagine now you get to be interviewed and introduced. Here is our guest today. Not only are they the expert, but they wrote the book on it. Right? And it just adds so much more elevation of credibility and brand and status. But I call it like a love letter to your clients. Here's a chance for them to fall in love with you, to fall in love with your programs, to learn more about you, and take that next step. I mean, if you think about the music industry, like you hear a song on the radio, if you really like it, you might actually download and buy the album. Well, if you really love it, right, you're going to go to the concert and you're going to hear the exact same song you heard on the radio, right? The exact same song you could play on demand because you own it, but you're going for the experience. Same thing. You hear this guest on a podcast, and so then you go and buy their book, so you have a little bit more access to them and you get to spend more time. And now let's go and buy their products and programs and services and actually work with them, because it's that natural journey that you're going to take people through. They're going to want to spend more time with you, and they're your people, right? They're the people that you love to help and are inspired to work with, and you were put on this planet to make an impact on their lives. And so, if you've got the idea and you're already doing other things, right? You've got a program, you've got something, go and publish your book, turn it into an audio, and then get booked on a podcast every single week to go talk about it.
Absolutely. And, you did mention that audio is a great way to communicate your authenticity. Being on a podcast, is a great way to do it. Narrating your own audiobook obviously is a great way to do it, because what you are doing is that you immediately develop an intimate connection, a direct connection with those people who are listening to you tell your story. No one can tell your story better than you can. This is why I say about nonfiction authors, you got to narrate your own audiobook, because no one can tell your story better than you. You lived it, you breathed it. That's what makes you so unique. And that's why people want to buy your book, or maybe sign up for your coaching program, or buy your product, because you resonate with them and they resonate with you. What a great connection. And podcasting, again, is such a great way to establish that connection.
Oh, for sure, for sure. And then you get to monetize it. And I mean, think about the impact, right? If you were to sell, and I always use the number 25, because I don't know if you're aware, Robert, the algorithm for Amazon, like if your book is being sold on Amazon, if you hit 25 units, Amazon starts to promote you to others who bought, right? Like their marketing efforts kick in when you hit 25 units. So
Wow.
imagine you're selling 25 copies of your book every week because you're being a podcast guest, and you're out promoting your book, and you're doing the things that authors do to sell their items. So you're selling, if you just sold 25 copies every single week, you start to add this up, it's an extra 5 to 10 grand every quarter. That's significant, right? 7 book sales a day is $4,000 a month in sales, right? That's, 7 people you could ask, invite, tell, beg, right? You could go and be a guest on a podcast. But 100 book sales a day is $1 million, right? That's amazing, right?
Yeah.
The only difference is traffic and volume. Where are you going to get in front of 100 people that could buy your book? Podcasts.
Yeah, that's right.
Right? So it can really be mind-blowing and so profitable when you really start to think about what you hold in your hand. If I've got a book in one hand and a microphone, a podcast interview microphone in the other, like I don't need anything else. Those 2 items, I've got something that I can sell, low ticket, it's already done, royalty income. I go and talk about the thing I love to talk about every single week. I mean, you could do it every day, and imagine what that could do to your bank account.
Absolutely. Great way to wrap up this podcast with some great advice. Angel, thank you so much for taking the time to be a guest on the show. How do people find you?
Needaguest.com. That'll take you right to our Facebook group. Would love to have you get booked, or if you've got a show, you can find guests. And then if you put your email address in when you join the group, I will send you the exact process that we use to get booked on podcasts every week and how we monetize it. It's a Google Doc, and we'll send that to you. So go to needaguest.com, and then you can send me a DM and tell me you heard about me on the Your Book, Your Voice show.
Thank you so much again for joining us on the podcast here today. Angel Tuccy, our very special guest. She is, again, a media specialist. Go to needaguest.com to get more information about the Facebook group and sign up and get in. Podcasting is a great way to promote yourself and your business. This is the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. My last assignment to you is this. When you're out and about in the world, my friends, smile at a stranger, say hello to them. That small gesture of kindness can make the world of difference in somebody's life, and you want to be a life changer. All right, we'll catch you on the next podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network. If you want more information about what I do as an audiobook coach, you can also go to robertlanecoaching.com. Have a great week, my friends. We will be talking to you soon. Take care.
This has been Your Book, Your Voice with host Robert A. Lane. Tune in each week for another powerful and informative episode of Your Book, Your Voice, Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave TV network.